So if you have followed me on my social media channels, or if you followed me here on the podcast, you know that I'm a runner. I never was one until about 5 years ago, started running long distance 5 years ago. So I started taking running a little bit more seriously, especially with like the shoes that I wear and the insoles that I wear. Well, today we're talking to the founder, CEO of Blumaka, which is a company that makes insoles. And there is a technology that's specific about them that you guys will be super interested in. If you are an athlete of any kind, you need to be listening to this, right? Listen to the stories and the innovation here with Blumaka so that you guys can understand the importance of getting an insole. I know the importance myself. I'm not just saying that because I have someone on my show. I'm talking to you about this for real. If you wear basketball shoes or football cleats, you need to get specific insoles for them to protect your feet. And you should probably consider this. Now, if you listen to this interview and you're interested in these, you have an affiliate code from me here on the description of this podcast. Please check that out. I'm going to be wearing a pair of them myself. I'm going to use some of the insoles myself, and I'll give you guys some honest feedback. So follow me on social media too, so you can hear all of that. But you guys check this podcast out. You're going to learn about Blumaka, and you'll hear a little bit of insight from somebody who's been in the footwear industry for over 40 years. This is the Gametime Guru. So,
what time is it? Game time!
This is the Gametime Guru Podcast, where I interview sports figures from all over the world to help deliver a panoramic view on sports. So whether you're a former athlete, one of the crazies, or simply a casual sports fan, this is the perfect show for you as we peel back the curtains and learn from our guests every single week. I'm your host, Shane Larson, and I'm helping you see sports through a different lens. What's up, everybody? Welcome out to another episode of the Gametime Guru Podcast. Shane Larson here, host of the show. Excited to come to you guys with another interview today. As you guys heard in the introduction, I am doing another interview in the business side of athletics, but you're going to see how this kind of ties in. I'm super excited to bring our guest on. And before we introduce him, just want to shout out all the listeners. You know, the show has been downloaded in 183 countries, all 50 states. Appreciate everybody over the last 8.5 years tuning into the show, whether it be on YouTube, which has a small audience, whether it be on the audio side, which has the large audience. Make sure to hit the subscribe button on whichever platform you're listening on. If it's YouTube, cool, awesome. I would love to grow my audience there. But even if you're on the audio side, hit that subscribe button and share it with your friends and family so they can hear it as well. But joining me today, it's actually a very interesting thing for me because I am a runner myself. I don't look like one, but if you guys follow me on my social media channels, you'll see that I enjoy running. So having somebody that's in the footwear side of things and in the business world is really cool for me specifically. So I'm really excited to introduce the CEO and founder of Blumaka. His name is Stuart Jenkins. Stuart, thanks for joining the show, man.
Thanks for having me, Sean. It's a pleasure to be here. I think maybe your audio audience will be happier than your YouTube video. I've kind of got a face made for radio, so.
Oh, no, man, you're looking great. What you talking about? I'm probably going to get a surge of followers today, man. This is great.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, I love it, man. So, Stuart, before we started recording, and, I was looking at your biography as well. You were talking about being from Nebraska. One of the things I read about you was the fact that you grew up in Nebraska, and there's the story that's on your About Me page, essentially, of Blumaka, talking about modifying Adidas shoes with a butcher knife of some sort back then. I want to hear that story a little bit, kind of going back into the archives a little bit and hearing the story of, growing up in rural Nebraska and how you had to modify your shoes.
Okay. Well, I think as many of your listeners who are in rural America will understand, and especially in that time, is ranchers and farmers, oftentimes they have a lot of land, but not that much money. And so I was a distance runner. And one of the big deals at that point in time was if you went out and ran a 5K or a 10K and won your age group or your division, you'd get a free pair of shoes, but you didn't get to pick that pair of shoes. And as you know, people have gotten more picky now. They only wear this and they only wear that. But hell, when you're in high school and you win a pair of shoes, you wore them. It was, and some of those shoes might be a little too stiff, or they might not be very breathable, or they might be too hard. And and I don't know where this spirit hit me, but I just had this sense that, if it wasn't working right for me, well, why not try to make it better? And so I remember winning this pair. It was a Easter run that I won this pair of shoes, and they were they were stiffer than hell. And so I just went into Mom's kitchen and stole her best butcher knife, which she did not appreciate, and just sliced the midsole right at the forefoot in sort of a, angled flex lines. And by golly, that made that shoe a lot more flexible. And I remember with my Nike LDVs, I loved those, but they had a very stiff tab on the Achilles tab, and I'd always get blisters when I got new ones. So I just took out a pair of scissors and chopped that off. And, there were just little things like that all the time that I would do, just trying to make the shoes work better. And, I've always said for whatever reason, I think the only way you're going to make the world better is to believe that you can make the world better. And for some reason, even at a young age, I just thought, I've got enough experience on shoes. I think I can make shoes better. And that sort of became a passion, and then a job, and now a career, which is a funny thing to think about. But that's the story.
No, that's awesome. It's kind of cool because, as I was thinking about it, I read through your story. I read through just the background. I hear that, you mentioned how your mom had said, do better, and, how it played a pivotal role in the words you used, I think was tackling challenges head on. And just kind of how that's kind of been ingrained in you. And it's obvious, moving 40 plus years down the road in this industry, just kind of learning the whole system. It's always like, how do we do better? How do we do better tackling it? My question for you here would be, I guess, also, here's the other thing. You have put a lot of mileage in with as an athlete yourself, right? Like you've done a lot. What has kept you motivated to stay moving this whole entire time in your life while you're still working and building and stuff like this? You're doing your thing, but movement and just walking and running and doing all that.
Well,
what has kept you moving all these years?
That's easy, Shane. Fear. I noticed out on the ranch that animals that stopped moving were soon completely dead, and I didn't want to be one of those. But I think more seriously, first it started with running, and I just found a lot of freedom in running. Right, the discipline to get up every day and run, that gave me the freedom to become the best runner I thought I could be. It certainly gave me the freedom to be the best runner I was going to be. If I ran every day, I was making the most of every opportunity. And so, I don't think motivation has been the key to my continued running. I think it's more inspiration. There's a great story about Pablo Casals. Pablo was the best violinist in the world. And at age 93, he was interviewed by a young reporter. And the young reporter said, do you practice every day? And he said, oh, yes, 6 hours a day. They said, you're the best one in the world, best cello player in the world, not violinist, cellist in the world. Why do you practice 6 hours a day? And he said, oh, because I think I'm getting better. And although you may not get faster as an athlete as you age, as you certainly won't, but I think the inspiration to continue to try to improve, to continue to try to have a sense of freedom, to continue to have a sense of dominion and joy is very important. And I think that that when you're out on the road and when you're really freeing yourself from the limitations of sort of the day-to-day grind or the fatigue of the body or the worn out mindset that you might get in an office, if you go out onto that road or that trail or that beach and you really ask yourself to open your eyes and look around and see what inspires you. I was running this morning and I don't know what kind of birds they were, but I was on a hill and these birds came by at about eye level and they were just soaring. They were just gliding. And I looked up at them and I thought, man, here I am, plodding along. And I look at them and I see, man, they have this tremendous freedom and dominion and grace. And what can I learn from that? And really what I could learn from that was to sort of drop a sense of heaviness or fatigue and, lift my gaze up and look forward. And despite not running that fast at this point, I could still be inspired to gain more and more freedom or more and more dominion as I went on that run this morning.
So cool, man. I love that. Stuart, as I was reflecting on this too, I'm a runner, okay? And this is why this is so cool to me. I said it in my introduction here for the podcast as well. Just like this is kind of cool for me just as a runner. I find a lot of freedom in running. I love doing it. But the physical side of it, it hurts. It hurts my feet. It hurts a lot. So talking to someone like yourself who just enjoys running yourself, you enjoy moving, there's some piece that comes with it, but also just seeing how you've impacted it from the business perspective is huge. Talk to us about Blumaka in the sense of the processing and what you're actually doing. Now, I've mentioned it in the introduction a little bit about the insoles and the fact that you're trying to take what was once foam waste, and you're trying to create a process, and you've done this to create an insole that a lot of athletes are switching to. So I want you to talk about that and let us know a little bit more insight as to the process behind it.
Okay. Well, Blumaka was, I've spent about now 48 years in the footwear industry and really bringing new ideas to footwear. But when you get down to its base, one of the things you're trying to do is reduce the pain of running. Most people say, well, I don't run because it hurts. It hurts my knee or my back or this or that. Now, I think my father would have said out on the ranch, most people don't want to run because they simply don't want to. But when you look at what footwear is designed to do, and I think this is where your listeners need to be maybe more thoughtful or more engaged. Footwear is equipment. And unfortunately, right now, maybe always, footwear has been sold as a fashion item, a look. And if a cool person wears it, then I should wear it. And that's really not how you should select your footwear. And even if your footwear looks good, it may be worn out. So the fundamental principle of footwear is it's to provide cushioning or protection. It's like a bumper on a car or a helmet. So you're really looking for that shoe to take a beating so that you don't. And that shoe is dependent upon foam or some cushioning system. And what people don't realize is that the insoles that come in their running shoes, for example, we've tested some at an independent lab. The cushioning of the insole, the thing inside the shoe, fails in as little as 4 miles. And most of it fails within 25 miles. And so we have created this line of insoles, aftermarket replacement insoles. And what we're doing is we're taking the trash from the athletic footwear industry. So I don't know if you can see that. You see the shoe in here?
Yeah.
And they throw this foam away. This is beautiful foam. It's yummy foam. It's high performance foam. And they throw this away. And yet it was good enough here to be in the midsole of a shoe to cushion you. And so what we do is we take that and we chop it up, and then we put it back together just like you're making Rice Krispie treats, and we make insoles from them. Here's an example.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
And here you can see the arch support, but you see you can see the grains. And because we're using this high quality foam, this insole will last 1,000 miles. Well, why do you care? Well, you care because that protects your body for a lot longer than those insoles that last for 4 miles. And, it really will outlast probably 4 to 5 pair of shoes, because running shoes should actually be replaced about every 200 miles. The industry tells you it's 500. But one of the reasons I think my knees don't hurt and my back doesn't hurt and my feet don't hurt is I generally never wear a pair of running shoes more than 200 miles. And now I'm in the industry, so I get the deals, if you will. But I think your running audience would be well served to be much more thoughtful about how long they're wearing their shoes, because that's their crash helmet. Every single time their foot hits the ground, they're crashing. And you want that shoe to absorb that shock and break down. And so for us, we've created something that is going to last a lot longer and provide a lot more cushioning. In addition to that, we're also, nothing you do is great for the planet, but by using the material that these great footwear brands are throwing away, we're doing something that's a lot less harmful to the environment. Here's a stat that will shock you, Shane. There's enough of this foam trash thrown away in the athletic footwear industry every year to make how many insoles? How many insoles do you think you could make just from the trash? 1 million? 10
Probably
million?
say about 1 million. I don't know. I don't know the number. I'd say about 1 million.
5 billion pair.
Whoa. Holy cow.
Now, look, I'm a runner. I love running and I love running shoes. But I think when you think about the fact that you're creating that kind of pollution, if you have a soul, you probably feel bad about that. Yeah. But if you have a brain and a soul, you'd say, well, I probably should participate, like my mother said, in doing better. And so you make products with that technology and use it. So here, instead of this being a pollution problem, it's a high performance solution. And I think that that's a pretty cool intellectual jujitsu. And then in addition to that, we have created a insole. I don't know, can you see the difference on your screen? This one has fabric. That's a normal top cover, like most insoles. And this one is a little tacky. And let me show you how that works. I'm going to have to put on my sock puppet, if you don't mind. So, here's a traditional insole that comes in a shoe. And you notice my sock, it slides on it. I go over here, sticks like manure to a wool rug. Well, if you want to have power, if you want to have side-to-side stability, why would you want to slide around? So have you ever run trails?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, what happens when you run down a trail fast? Your toes go into the end of your shoes and you go jam, right?
They'd start jamming a lot.
And then you get black toenails. And people say, well, get 2 pair of socks, 1 pair of, everybody's got a theory. Well, none of it works because your toes are sliding. Your foot is sliding on this product.
Wow.
And so if you're sliding going downhill, you're sliding going uphill. And if you're sliding think about trying to run in a gymnasium in stocking feet on a gym floor. You can't go anywhere. But trying to start on an insole that lets you slide means you're sliding back 1/4 to 1/2 inch every time you take a stride. Well, that's about 13 yards per mile.
Wow.
It's inefficient. Yeah. But on side hills, you slide and then you're moving around. You're losing stability. One of the reasons your knees hurt is because you're moving. And if you can keep your legs stable, they don't. And so we call this a non-slip connect insole. And this is the insole that the last couple of weeks, we've got 12 NFL teams just ordered them for the upcoming season. Every single Major League Baseball team has players wearing it. All-star pitchers in the game here this week. Last year we had 6 all-star pitchers. So the pro teams see the benefit of not sliding around on their insole. And it's one of those things where, you can kind of go, I'm solving a problem that most people don't know they have. But kind of once you know, you go, yeah, why would you want your foot to be moving around? Why do you want you don't tear your knee ligaments because they move an inch. They move about 2 millimeters too far. And so this insole allows you to operate inside your biomechanical window more frequently. I mean, it's great for pickleball or whatever. So I really invented this while I was up running on these trails up here behind Santa Barbara, where I was getting on side hills and I'd feel my foot slide over. And I thought, is my ankle going to go or is my knee going to go? And so I really developed it for trail running. And we got a cool product coming out. We've got this new rabbit running shoe we collaborated on, where they're putting our insole right in the shoe. And then we have this zonal grip system where this area, it's not tacky, but under the ball of the foot and the heel it is. And so it's fun to see people adapting the technology. That's a long-winded story there.
No, that's fantastic. I'm like taking notes and mental notes too, which I would encourage everybody, if you're listening to this on your device, always pull out your notepad on the device and take notes. There's a couple things I want to unpack here, Stuart. All of that's super interesting to me. One, if you have never used insoles, so take it from me. I didn't start running until I was 31 years old, like long distance running, right? I actually hated running. I was an athlete, didn't like running, but then I started long distance running, doing that, especially during COVID. That was like kind of when I was like, listen, I got to get outside and go do something. Everyone's cooped up. Gyms were shut down. I'm just going to go move. And so I started doing long distance running. I didn't realize the difference in an insole. I always thought it was just an upsell. I'm like, oh, dude, all these footwear companies are all going to say the same thing, dude. I'm just going to run on the dang shoe. It doesn't matter to me. Until I actually got insoles that fit my feet. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's a whole difference here. So hearing you say that, I want to reiterate the importance of those. Now you've given data and statistics behind it, like how long they can last compared to the ones that are actually in the shoe. So that's a big one to remember. Two, the tacky grip. So what's interesting, Stuart, is I found that when I was doing longer distance running, like 9 miles or more, where I'm a little bit over an hour and 20 minutes or so, hour and 15 minutes of running, it's interesting. I would wear whatever, like I figured out what socks were better for me, but I'd always get blisters. And it was just because the subtle movements over the course of time. It's just the subtle movements. It's not like the big ones. Over time, they were slipping. And I would get massive blisters to where then it would take me out another week because I literally couldn't run for a week because it was too much. I had way too big of blisters. So hearing that and seeing that is huge. Now I also coach basketball. So I'm looking at this and you know, there's a big common, turf toe is a big deal. And I know that you guys have that like marketed on your website too. And I was like, dude, turf toe is a big deal for basketball players, for football players, for whomever. And that's going to help with that. So
I have a turf toe specific product that I'd love to share with you.
Please do. That would be awesome. See, this is my basketball players really appreciate it. So would my football players.
Okay. So turf toe, for the audience that doesn't know, just think of the big knuckle on your big toe on your foot. And if you took your big toe and you pushed it back towards your arch as far as you can push it, and then push it a little farther. And that's what's happening to create turf toe. So it really pulls that joint apart, and it's very painful, and it's debilitating. And there's really no surgery for it. But it's the over rotation, the backwards rotation of the big toe that causes turf toe. So we created this new product. We call it the Carbon Elite. And normally in fact, I have it right here, excuse my reach, but here's what they normally put. I didn't know we were going to talk about this, but normally to stop turf toe, they put this super rigid, stiff piece of either carbon. And I mean, I'm literally pushing and you can't bend this. It's stiff. And they even put stainless steel in. Well, how do you run if you can't bend your foot? So what we did is look underneath. The magic's in here. That black thing is a piece of carbon fiber. But look at this. When I'm down here, it goes down and bends softly. And then it's bent. And when I get it to here, it stops. So now I can run full speed, and we have the documentation that shows you can run full speed because that's what you need to get to run full speed, but you can't over-rotate the MPT joint. And this was the product we introduced a couple months ago at the NFL Trainer Show. And I think, like I said, I think we got 12 teams that have bought this. And then we've got some college teams, even up in your neck of the woods, where they're talking about putting them on all of their linemen so that they don't get turf toe, much like they would with knee braces. But you combine the carbon fiber, and notice I have a split in the carbon fiber right here. You can see that line.
Yep.
So that you've got great medial to lateral dexterity. We tested this with a team up in Buffalo last year, and they had 3 or 4 players, and he bought all of my samples because he had such great results with them. And then a guy, the defensive back, PJ Locke for the Denver Broncos, somebody broke the tip of his toe off, stepped on it with his cleats, and this really helped him get back in the game. And they've been kind enough, he's been kind enough to give us a testimonial. But it's really a completely different approach to solving an athletic problem. You know, I mean, this is so barbaric or archaic. I mean, this is a 1960s solution to a 2026 problem. And so we're pretty proud of this product and what it can do to get athletes back in the game. In fact, there's a second baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals named Brendan Donovan. And Brendan texted me early June and said, Stuart, I've got turf toe. And he said it just, crept up on him a little bit. And he's swinging so hard. And we got him in these insoles. He missed 4 games. They thought he would miss a couple weeks. And they're in a pennant race, right? They're trying to win games. Brendan Donovan is their all-star. He said, I can't win any games on the bench. And he missed 4 games. And I just got a text from him maybe 10 days ago. And he said, my turf toe is completely gone.
Wow.
And that it's, to me, I'm not Nike, I'm not Adidas. I can't pay these athletes or these teams to wear my product. I mean, those companies could pay you to wear horse manure on a necklace and you'd wear it because they pay you. But the only reason we're getting professional athletes, professional team, professional or collegiate teams is because the product is improving performance. And you'll see on my website, this non-slip, there is a full study from a professional sports team that says they tested 200 athletes over 8 months. 80% of them wearing this product started and stopped faster. Now think of that for cutting or turning, right? 80% were more stable. So this goes to the injury prevention where we were talking for runners. And 90% ran faster and had a longer stride length because what? They're not sliding back every time they start. So this is not just Stuart shilling his product. I mean, trust me, we don't have enough money in the world to get these pro teams to wear our product because we want them to. Of course, I guess if I had all the money in the world, I'd be running an ad on Monday Night Football and then the world would know. But that's the life of a startup, right?
No, for sure, man. But it's cool to see the product speaks for itself. You just got to get the product in front of the right people and doing it the right way. So my next question to you then on that front is, I got people listening to me all over the place from different areas. And I got a lot of youth and high school football players too. Could this be applicable to those coming up, like the younger generation, or is this more set for adults? And how can somebody get a hold of you if they want to learn more about potentially buying some for a specific group of team members, such as offensive linemen, like you were saying before? Like, how does somebody get a hold of you for it?
Thanks. Well, blumaka.com, blumaka.com. And we do have a team program where we can set up a discount code for teams that buy. Maybe we could set up a code for your listeners as well at the end of the program. But for teams that want to buy, we'll set them up with a discount code so that they can buy for the team. And it is my belief that you know, stability knows no age group, injury knows no age group, and cushioning for, 1,000 miles of cushioning. One of the reasons I've been able to run for over 50 years is I think I've always had pretty good equipment. And I think that cushioning is fundamental to fitness and being able to participate. So I think this can be very much just as important for children or young people. And it's certainly important for high school athletes. Look, I don't mean to be, the skunk at the garden party, but the insoles that are coming in cleated footwear, football shoes and soccer shoes, I mean, it is atrocious. I mean, if the footwear industry were building cars, we'd all be sitting on wood benches. I mean, these things are absolutely, I don't even know it. I don't even know they are so incongruous to the footwear that they're in. It's ridiculous. You put a $200 shoe out there and an insole that fails in 4 miles. Really? I mean, Mike Yastrzemski told me a story. He said, Stuart, he said, you've got a problem. He called me, goes, Stuart, you've got a big problem with your insole. And I go, gosh, I was panicked. I go, what's that? And he goes, hey, I've been going through 4 pair of insoles from my cleated brand supplier a year. He would press so hard with his big toe that he would split them, as he hit. And he said, I've been wearing your insole for 2 years. He said, nobody's going to buy a second pair. So I guess I do need to sell them to youth because they grow.
Good point, actually. That's funny. Hey, that's a great investment, though. That's the thing. Keep that in mind. You might not have to buy a ton of them unless you're the youth and you got to keep growing. I like that a lot.
And for the soccer crowd out there, and I think this is particularly important for female athletes, female lacrosse players, female soccer players, they have a lot of knee issues. I believe primarily because women's shoes are made on men's last on the shape of so the heel for women is too wide and the ball of the foot in cleats is too narrow. And so their foot does this inside it, which puts force up on the knee. So their heel is moving and their forefoot is locked in. And so, we've made a thin version of this that will fit in a soccer cleat. And we even have arch support in it if you want it. But this non-slip technology for female athletes, especially those playing on turf, those playing soccer, lacrosse, I think it's a very helpful preventative. I can't claim injury prevention. People are going to get hurt in anything, but look, you're the game time guru. You tell me, where in performance athletics is slipping helpful to success? Just tell me where you want to slip and slide.
You don't want to at all, man.
And you're seeing athletes blow out their basketball shoes, right? Mm-hmm. Well, why? Because they aren't. If their foot was stable on top of their basketball shoe, they would stay on top of their basketball. They don't blow out the bottom; they blow out the side because their foot goes whoop, and then over the edge. That would be like driving a car and deciding that the way you're going to steer that car down your mountain road is just hit the guardrails and bump yourself back. Hit the guardrail and bump yourself back. But that's how every
point actually. Yeah.
That's how every basketball shoe, every football cleat is. That's the predicated steering system. Slide to the edge and hope your ankle doesn't go over or your knee doesn't go over, and then turn.
So interesting, because that's so true. I'm going to encourage the listeners here, even on my social media channels too, to make sure to check this out. If you guys are interested in this, if you're a coach too, and you want to do maybe like a bulk order, we can talk to Stuart, go onto the Blumaka.com website and we can look at the team options there. I definitely think it's worth the investment definitely worth looking into, myself included, just for running purposes. I want to check it out. Stuart, I have a question for you as an innovator. I worked for a guy for a number of years. His name's Russell Brunson, and he's really well known in the marketing and business space. But working for him, and then myself just running different startup businesses myself, being an innovator is an interesting thing, because it feels like when I was working for him, you always see a problem. So it's almost like you solve a problem, and then you always have to solve the next problem with what you just solved to the solution you just solved. You keep finding problems. And so I'm curious, do you find that in yourself a little bit sometimes? Like, we just made the perfect insole. But on the next batch, let's do this instead. Like, do you always find yourself like finding problems in every solution that you've already created?
Well, I think that's definitely one of the challenges of innovation. And I think that there's a difference between an innovator and an inventor. And I think that distinction is not often enough made. I think inventors tend to sort of be purist because they're solving a problem that in a way that's never been solved before. So an inventor invented a pencil, and then some inventor invented an eraser, and the innovator put the eraser on the pencil. And so I feel like my life has been more about whether it's air shoes or carbon fiber and footwear, or finding Hoka when they'd only sold 800 pair and getting them sort of on ramp to a big company. I think I'm more about solving a problem and then not just grinding down on that one problem. I think my wife would tell you, I see a problem, I try to fix that problem, then I see another problem over here and I go fix that another way and another way and another way. So I'm sort of a serial put the eraser on the pencil kind of person. But we find ways to maybe improve this, but once we got the technology down, we made one that's thinner and then one that's thicker and different arch heights to make it more acceptable to the audience. But I don't find that I really grind on one idea in that way.
That's good, man. That's cool. Like, that's actually really cool. And I think that's healthy too, so that you can just you're never just like harping too much on one thing,
Well, no, my first product that I hooked up with an inventor, and then I was 18, he was 65, which at the time I thought was old. Now it's very young, I can assure you. And he'd get into a sales meeting and he'd say, "Oh, look what I've done here, blah, blah, blah. I put the air in the shoe and it's going to move here. But the next one is going to do this." And, I learned on the ranch, you sell the horse you got in the corral. You don't sell some horse over the hill. I mean, because you got to go catch the horse over the hill. Sell the damn horse that's in the corral. And so I finally said to my mentor and boss, I said, I think these sales calls would go a hell of a lot better if you stayed home. Because he was always selling the next thing.
Yeah.
But it's just a little bit of a different mindset. And I do think innovation for your younger members and for your athletes, don't be afraid to, you've got this ultimate experience. You're a hardcore user. You're in this gear every day. Don't be afraid to say, you know what? This doesn't work for me. There's a better way. And, go into mom's garage, or go get a Dremel tool and shape your shoe, or go get a drill. And, if a shoe's too hard, just all you have to do is get about a quarter inch drill bit and drill some holes in the dang thing, and it'll soften it up. and I think that that's the thing, is that you have to, I think you have to have the confidence to believe you can make the world a better place, and the humility to know that you might not. But it's in that trying, that giving yourself the intellectual space to try to make your water bottle, your backpack, your hat, your running shoes, your shorts better, don't believe. Look, it wasn't the footwear experts that invented Hoka and oversized shoes. All of these big shoe companies were spending hundreds of millions of dollars in all R&D, and they didn't come up with Hoka. And yet, two guys in France came up and said, hey, we think making a shoe that, feels better going downhill, a little more cushioning, a little flatter ride. Well, what gave them permission? Well, they weren't locked into the old way of doing it. But experts rarely innovate because experts are expert at knowing what has been done, not knowing what is needed or what might be done.
Ooh, I like that a lot. Stuart, as we get to the end of the interview, just two questions for you. One, I have the Clifton 9s. Those are like my favorite shoes. I run with those Hokas. I haven't run with a ton of different shoes. I tested out Hokas about 3 years ago, got kind of stuck on them. With all of your running experience, and I don't want you to I'm sure you have a ton of different ones, but let's just say you're preparing for a half marathon. We got listeners here that are preparing for a half marathon. What's the best running shoe to be combined with the Blumaka insoles that you guys have, in your opinion, if you're trying to get trained for a half marathon?
Well, and I'm not that I want to run for mayor here, but here's a couple things I will say. The progress that every shoe brand has made in the last 5 years, to me, is absolutely incredible. Incredible. And of course, there is no perfect shoe. And I came from an era back in the 80s and even the late 70s where, this is the number one ranked shoe by Runner's World or whatever. And so I think you got to be very careful about that because I think there is a right shoe. Now, I'm a big fan of for my longer runs. I'm a big fan of the Hoka Bondi. But if I want to go out for an easy run and don't want to get beat up, I will go for the Rabbit Dream Chaser. That's a shoe almost nobody, but that thing is like slippers for your feet. If I want to go out and run 2-3 miles, recover, feel great. But look, I think what Adidas is doing, what Asics is doing, Brooks, there's some phenomenal product out there. But my go-to shoes are the Rabbit Dream Chaser, which is a local brand, and the Hoka Bondi. I've been wearing the Hoka Bondi since 2010, and they screwed up on the Bondi 8. They've recovered on the Bondi 9, but as my old friend Johnny Halverstadt, the Boulder running guy, said, that shoe is spell check for your feet. It's an easy shoe.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Well, that's good to know, man. Last question I got for you, Stuart. What is the biggest life lesson you've taken away from being in the footwear industry for as long as you have, and you're continuing to work in it? You're in the day-to-day. What's the biggest life lesson that you could share with us?
That if I could determine the line between stupid stubbornness and professional persistent, I would be a billionaire. I would also say that if you truly want to innovate, probably the best preparation is to be the most unpopular kid in middle school. Innovation and changing industries is not a group activity. It will not be embraced by the cool kids. It's not going to be embraced by peer pressure is not going to rally you to the next great idea. You really have to have the ambition to change something, to have a goal, not to build a big business, not to make a bunch of money. You have to have the ambition to create a product or create a concept that is meaningful to the world. And if you can stick with that ambition, I think you will have a good chance at being successful.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate that insight. That's super cool. And Stuart, I just appreciate you taking the time to join us and share the story behind this. I'm going to encourage everybody, check the link in the description, blumaka.com. Go check out the Insoles. You've heard about it now from Stuart. Now it's time to share it with the rest of the world. And yeah, I just appreciate you taking the time to join us today, man. Thank you so much.
Well, it has been my privilege, and it's always fun to share with athletes and people that want to think about new products. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Heck yeah. For all those who are listening as well, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on whichever platform that you're following on, because we'll be coming to you next week with another interview. Take care. Guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of my show. Now, if you could go and do me a favor, head over to iTunes, give me 5 stars, and leave me a review. It would be greatly appreciated. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your support.